Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you. Tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Looking at for quality, easy see something Charlie. Little booty guys got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of rolling clothes like eggs. Looked at a while flag and played for dust, and they played too deep for being sad.
Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results and happenings from Collision Slam Dunk on Sunday last weekend on March 22nd to Collision this weekend on Saturday on March 28th, as well as the TNA Sacrifice special event that I was actually in attendance for in New Orleans. So we'll start with the second half of Collision Slam Dunk from last weekend. We open with the conglomeration represented by Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy. They defeat Lee Johnson and Jay Lethal when Roddy hits the end of Heartache on Johnson for the win. After the match, Roderick Strong makes an announcement that he probably should have made months ago, but he is officially a part of the conglomeration after kind of toying with them over months and months since Kyle O'Reilly got hurt. He finally officially joins the group. And then the War Dogs pop up on the screen. I believe it was Connors and Finley pop up on the screen and challenge Roddy and Orange to a match. We then look at Lena Cross and Megan Bain winning the tag team titles at Revolution, but the Babes of Wrath kind of pop in and say that they want their rematch that they're owed. We then get the tag team champions, the Divine Dominion, defeating Alex Garcia and Vipress when they both hit choke slams on each individual girl. We then go to another match where Tommaso Ciampa defeats a kind of new version of Leo Rush. He has like crazy like contact lenses in that make his eyes look completely white. And he's playing like this. He acts like he's like a reptile of some sort, like a snake. He's real slithery in his movements and stuff like that. So something I guess Leo's trying out, but he takes the loss here. Tommaso wins with the running pump knee that he's been winning with ever since he came in. We then get video for Kenny Omega versus Swerve Strickland that happened previously, kind of leading up to a match that they'll have on Dynamite. And then we get some highlights from Hangman Page and MJF from Evolution as well. We then get our new trios champions of Mystico and Jet Speed. I don't know if the titles are on the line here, but they win anyways. They defeat the Don Callis family, Takeshita, Josh Alexander, and El Clone when Mystico gets cloned to tap to the La Mystica, which is basically just like an arm bar that he creatively kind of gets into. But that was the best match of the show. Usually the trios matches deliver in a pretty strong way. I did think Ciampa and Leo Rush was pretty good as well, but I'd give the edge to the trios match. We'll then go to our usual starting point. We go to Raw. We open with a recap of Brock Lesnar returning to confront Seth Rollins, but gets laid out by Obafemi. We then have Lesnar come out with Paul Heyman to get things going. Heyman lists off Lesnar's various accomplishments, but the fans continuously chant for Obafemi. Heyman warns the fans about getting on Lesnar's nerves and blames last week's attack on Femi, taking advantage of a distracted Lesnar. Femi is the latest man who is supposed to take out Brock, just like Goldberg, Dean Ambrose, Bobby Lashley, John Cena, but Femi will be victimized just like everyone else. So they throw out Dean Ambrose in there, which is kind of surprising. Oba then comes out and Lesnar tries to F5 him, only for Femi to wiggle out, escape, and clothesline Lesnar to the floor. Nobody quite takes that bump from the inside out to the ring off of a clothesline like Brock Lesnar does. He almost like doesn't touch the apron whatsoever and just kind of falls flat to the floor. So that's one of my favorite bumps that he usually takes. We then get Dominic Mysterio. He is ready to win back his Intercontinental Championship tonight. He's getting his rematch against Penta. We then have the Vision. They defeat Theory and Logan Paul. They defeat the Usos by disqualification when LA Knight comes out, steals the brass knuckles from Logan, and gives them to Jay, who uses them right in front of the ref to knock out Theory. Logan Paul also gets knocked out after the match had wrapped up by Jay as well. We then look back at Roman Reigns and CM Punk going face-to-face with last week with Reigns calling Punk old and getting under his skin. We then have Becky Lynch come out for a promo. She understands what it means to take some time off because she took 10 months off, unlike AJ Lee's 10 years off. She's ticked off about the lack of respect after losing the Intercontinental title because she is proud of what she made the title. When she took some time off to be with her family, her daughter was dancing around to AJ's music and flipping her hair like that twerp from New Jersey. So little Rue is starting to take a liking to AJ Lee. Becky says she doesn't realize that her mother, she says that her daughter doesn't realize her mother was the greatest of all time. And then AJ mastered the Divas division, but Becky murdered it, obviously getting rid of the butterfly belt. AJ then comes out to chase Becky out of the ring, and she ends up in the crowd and says that maybe she has to beat her one more time to get rid of her. Mentions that maybe they can do it on the biggest stage of them all. She'll show Becky why she's the best wrestler of this generation and this one. And she also is apparently Becky's daughter's favorite wrestler. And the match will be on for WrestleMania. Becky then brings up AJ's last WrestleMania match when she left the day after, and we didn't hear from her for 10 years. Don't worry, because this year Becky will end her and we'll never hear from her again. We then go to Jimmy Uso. He thanks LA Knight for the help out there because they were obviously outnumbered. Jay still isn't happy about the whole situation. They calm down a bit, and Jimmy suggests that LA watches words when talking about his family in front of Jay. We then get Javon Evans. He defeats Grayson Waller via pinfall following the OG cutter. After the match, Kofi Kingston tries to explain why he didn't help to Waller, but Waller isn't convinced and seems pretty PO'd about it. Paul Heyman then comes up to Adam Pearce, who says Heyman is having a heck of a night. Heyman wants a street fight for the tag team titles next week at Madison Square Garden. Adam Pearce seems to agree to that stip and makes the match visual. Pearce tells Heyman to go out to the ring now, as he requested, and Heyman isn't happy but goes anyways. Paul then comes out to the ring and says he's having a really bad night, and not just because after a 40-year Hall of Fame career, he's making a contractually obligated appearance here in Boston. There is no one for him to hide behind at the moment because of all of his men are either gone or injured. At the same time, though, he has a stalker who will not leave him alone. And that man is Seth Rollins. And no, that is not a challenge for a match because we know how that would go. Instead, maybe Rollins should just come put him out of his misery. The masked men pop up on the announcer's table. So Heyman keeps calling him out, only to realize who is waiting on him. Some cops show up to get between them and take Rollins away for violating a restraining order, which apparently Heyman had taken out on him. As Rollins is leaving, Heyman goes on a rant about how Rollins is going to be in jail and Becky Lynch will marry half of the male locker room, and his daughter will be adopted by Paul Heyman because she will not have a father to raise her. Rollins then kind of gets to the point where the ramp meets where the fans kind of end, and he charges around, goes to the entranceway, goes after Heyman. Heyman actually throws the mic at him, and he gets a forearm in as Rollins is handcuffed, leaving Heyman to look and laugh maniacally. We then get Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. They defeat the Kabuki Warriors when Lyra hits Nightwing on Kyrie. After the match, Bayley says they aren't feeling pressure, and Valkyria wants the women's tag team titles. The challenge is on for next week, with Bayley having to win the crowd back when she calls the Madison Square Garden the world's most famous arena. Obviously, they're in Boston. A lot of heated and hated rivalry there. So Bayley and Lyra will take on the Irresistible Forces next Monday for the tag team titles. We then look back at Tiffany Stratton starting in NXT, where she kind of came from. Obviously, Stratton, like these NXT origins in the past, kind of hype up the great training that she got in her years in NXT. So they air this on NXT and SmackDown, I'm pretty sure, but this is the only time I'll mention it because it gets repetitive. We then have I Show Speed. He comes in to see Penta, who teaches him how to do the little Penta strut. Dragon Lee comes in, and Speed is excited to see him as well. Speed then leaves, and Penta and Dragon Lee seem kind of cool with each other, even after last week's match. I mean, it didn't end controversially, so they shouldn't have a problem, but they seem like they're still buddies. And then we come back from commercial break. ISHO Speed meets Adam Pearce and is happy that he's here. Danhausen then comes in and suggests that they have a show together and split the profits. Obviously, ISHO Speed doesn't know who Danhausen is, so he says no. Danhausen suggests that the show be called You Are Cursed. Speed then freaks out, doesn't know what that means, and Danhausen vanishes. And Pearce wishes Speed luck, and Speed just looks exacerbated and just completely lost on what just happened. We then have video on Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton's issues from SmackDown, with Orton saying he's back to his evil ways because he needs to beat Rhodes and become a 15-time champion. Orton then feigned an apology and took out Matt Cardona, obviously, and even Pillman has his arm on SmackDown last week. We then have Asuka yell at Kyrie, says she needs to make up for the loss that she just cost them. Io Sky then comes in to say that Kyrie deserves better, but Asuka then obviously yells her name, and Sane kind of cowers away. Raquel Rodriguez then pops up behind Io, is pissed at her for interfering in her match last week, and they kind of agree to a match for the next week's Raw at MSG. We then have Penta. He retains against Dom Mysterio with a small package after Finn Balor had come out and provided a distraction. After the match, Balor runs in to take out Dom and hits a flip dive out onto both JD and Dom. Dom then runs away, and Balor gives JD the coup de grace. We then go to CM Punk. He's walking through gorilla position. He talks to Jimmy. Jimmy obviously says kind of the same thing he said to LA Knight earlier. He said, be careful, Jay's, on a hot streak, and he doesn't need to be kind of messed with right now because he's not himself. And Punk obviously kind of acknowledges it, but I think we'll kind of see that maybe he didn't take him too seriously. He says he's not sure. Punk that comes out to cut a promo. He says he's not sure if we could hear what Jimmy just said to him, but apparently it was another watch what you say about our family. Punk says that that's proof that Roman can't do anything without his cousins. Last week, Reigns threatened to send the entire family after him, but Punk hasn't seen a single Samoan coming after him. We are in the shit-talking business in an effort to set up the big fight, and that's what Punk does for a living. Last week, Roman was doing the same thing, but he said one thing that got to him. Reigns called him old, and the problem was the young boy saying it. It was the young boy saying it. So is he old? The fans hit the yes chant. Yeah, of course he's old. Of course. He's not ashamed of it, though, and he's even proud of it that he's still kicking. If he was worried, he'd be covering up the gray whiskers, just like Reigns does with his Just for Men. He's middle-aged and crazy, just like Terry Funk, Gordie Howe. He talks about Gordie Howe, how he was better known as Mr. Hockey. He was playing until he was 52. So Punk is Mr. Game 7. Age is just a number, so ask him how he feels. Last week, this old man dropped Reigns with one punch, and at WrestleMania, he'll tie Reigns in knots. Gunther didn't underestimate him, but couldn't get the job done either, just like Jey Uso. Jay then comes out, and Punk kind of, while this music's going on, he's kind of clowning on him and ask him if he's going to yeet him to death. Jay then comes out Jay comes out, is kind of still coming out, says Punk is still running his mouth about his family. Punk says Jay is owed a rematch for the title, and they're ready to go. But Jimmy Uso comes out to say, hang on. Jimmy says Jay is always getting into trouble because he goes too crazy. He got them disqualified earlier tonight, but Jay says he doesn't care about the tag team titles. Jay is ready to fight. Roman then comes out after an extended entrance like Reigns always does. Reigns says the last time he checked, the Usos had a tag title match and that it is over. He then says, with all due respect, Jimmy needs to get his brother and leave his ring. Punk then says they should stay because Reigns is going to need the help. Jay goes after Punk. Jimmy tries to break it up with Reigns hitting a Superman punch to the back of Punk's head. Adam Pearce and company then come out and rid the ring of the Usos and Reigns. Jay tells Reigns to go back and get Punk, which kind of seems weird that it seems like Jay's kind of calling the shots. Roman comes back and hits a spear. He then kicks him to the floor, and then Reigns hits the kind of old Shield power bomb through the announcer's table, and then yells at him. And then Reigns leaves, and Punk kind of laughs off the pain as he walks away and says he isn't the one that needs help to end the show. So another solid segment, kind of throws a new wrinkle in there. Feels like maybe Jay is playing the role of the tribal chief here, seeming to tell other people what to do. Maybe he's gonna once we get past WrestleMania, we might see Jay be the new tribal chief and the head of the bloodline going forward. So just maybe a thing that might happen after WrestleMania, but obviously kind of continuing to sow the seeds that Jay is going to be heel pretty much fully after this thing is all said and done. Whether the rest of them join him or not is a different question. But Penta and Dom would be my best match for Raw. Not a ton of wrestling, a lot of promos and such, but I would definitely go with that one for my match of the night. So definitely check that one out. And then go to NXT. Shiloh Hill actually comes into Robert Stone and asks if he can be the first entrant in the Gauntlet Eliminator. Stone seems to be interested in that, but Tatum Paxley comes in and complains about what happened last week with Blake Monroe, and she wants her championship back. Shiloh then says he has an idea and he'll help Paxley get her belt back. The two of them leave. Then Josh Briggs walks in, says he needs to talk to Stone, but then a referee also comes in and says Stone is needed in a situation. So this will kind of be a thing throughout the night. Briggs wants to talk to Stone, but he constantly is getting interrupted by other people needing him. We then have Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair defeat Fatal Influence, represented by Laney Reed and Fallon Henley, when Kendall gets Laney to tap to the cross arm breaker. After the match, Kendall says she's coming for the women's title at Stand and Deliver. But Lola Vice comes in to say that it's her title shot. Robert Stone then comes out and makes a number one contenders match between the two of them for next week. So whoever wins next Tuesday will take on JC Jane next Saturday at Stand and Deliver. We then have Sol Ruka come out. She wasn't sure what she was going to say here, but she only wanted Zarya to have a chance. Zarya couldn't get her own moment, though, and decided to steal Sol's. Sol lists off all of the times she's helped her out and gets emotional as she says she's finally seeing Zarya for what she really is. She wants to face Zarya at Stand and Deliver, which Zarya comes out. Zarya says that the only thing she wanted was the two of them, which was never good enough for Sol. As she stands there, Sol is upset that Zarya cost her the women's title, which is exactly what Ruka did to her last year at Stand and Deliver. It made Zarya sick to be around her and hear her name, but now Zarya is finally picking herself. The fan reaction kind of seems to be behind Zarya a little bit, as Sol asks what she ever got from Zarya, who is too insecure to stand beside her. Zarya then says that she isn't the villain in Sol's story, but Ruka is the mistake in hers. So obviously sets up a big match. I honestly think this should be like a loser leaves NXT kind of situation, or it needs to have a bigger step. It needs to be like last man standing or something like that. This needs to be a personal fight between the two of these that has kind of a stipulation behind it. When they have Ricky Saints and Ethan Page, they talk about wanting the NXT championship, but Josh Briggs comes in saying he just wants 5 minutes with the boss. Joe Hendry comes in to say if Saints can't deal with Tony D'Angelo tonight, Hendry will do it himself. We then have Kalani Jordan defeat Thea Hale via pinfall following the one-of-a-kind moonsault. After the match, Kalani continues to beat down Thea until Jada Parker runs in to make the save. Jasper Troy then says he's not happy with Keanu Carver interrupting his mentor Booker T's appreciation night and wants some revenge next week in Madison Square Garden. We then have Shiloh Hill. He says he has used some type of computer program to locate where Blake Monroe is. He gives Tatum the exact location and says he needs to go win the Gauntlet Eliminator now. We then have a surprise fifth entrant in the Gauntlet Eliminator, and that is Johnny Gargano, and he ends up winning the North American number one contender, Gauntlet Eliminator. He last eliminates Shiloh Hill when Johnny's been in kind of a trance lately. So he's just sitting on the top rope in his trance, and Candace kind of pushes him off the top rope onto Shiloh after Birthright had kind of beaten Shiloh down. And Johnny gets the pin as he shoved off the top rope onto Shiloh. The other participants in the match were Jackson Drake, Dion Lennox, and Charlie Dempsey. After the match, Gargano looks surprised as anyone that he won the match. But when Miles Bourne comes out for a stare down, he gets a little bit serious. So Miles Bourne versus Gargano could be a pretty solid match. Maybe just a little bit of added star power for Stand and Deliver. So you can't hate on it. But you would have maybe liked to see one of the younger guys get a shot. We then have the Vanity Project. This is Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes. They want to know who is replacing Eli Knight and Elio LaFleur in the tag tournament. Josh Briggs comes in to try to get to talk to Robert Stone again, but the referee wants to speak to Stone instead and cuts him off again. No one is willing to referee the Jasper Troy versus Keanu Carver match, so Stone will come up with something. Jada comes in, and Stone gets right to the point and gives her a match with Kalani next week. We then have OTM. They are ready to face Dark State next week in a 6-man tag. Their partner, though, is going to be TNA World Champion Mike Santana, who warns Dark State that they're coming into his hometown, his battleground of New York City. So we'll see how that goes. We then have the Los Americanos defeating the Culling via pinfall when Bravo Americano hits the running headbutt with the loaded mask. This advances them into the tag team title tournament final. After the match, Birthright comes out for a stare down, so it'll be whatever members of Birthright that they choose against the two Americanos to see who will face the Vanity Project at the Stand and Deliver show. We then have Keanu Carver. He wants to fight Jasper Troy, but Stone says they still need a referee. Josh Briggs comes in and says he'll do it, and that solves the problem. So I obviously don't think that's what he's been trying to tell him the rest of the night, but he offers to himself to put himself in a big spot on the card that is going to be in Madison Square Garden. We then have Tana Paxley. She goes to Blake Monroe's hotel room, reaches her through the door, pulls her by her hair, and says, I'm not going to get my title back next week because I can't get in the door. But next week, there will be no lock holding her back from getting her title. We then have our main event where Tony D'Angelo defeats Ricky Saints via DQ when Ethan Page comes in, when it looks like Ricky's about to lose, obviously, and attacks Tony. After the match, the beatdown is on until Joe Hendry comes in to make the save. D'Angelo gets a standing ovation of his own to even things up a bit from last week. And then we go to our kind of the last thing that happens. We could cut to the back, and Robert Stone makes a fatal 4-way NXT title match for Stand and Deliver with Joe Hendry and the three guys that were just involved in the beatdown that happened. So Ethan Page, Ricky Saints, and Tony D'Angelo. As far as best match, the Eliminator took up most of the episode. It was about 45 minutes, obviously involved 4 guys, and it was an elimination style match. It has some good action throughout. So I think it's a match that's kind of definitely worth checking out. But the rest of the wrestling just wasn't all that incredible per se. Nothing else really got a ton of time. Like I said, that Eliminator got most of the episodes. So definitely check that one out. We then have Dynamite. We opened Dynamite with Kenny Omega defeating Swerve Strickland via pinfall following the One-Winged Angel. This makes Omega the number 1 contender for the world title and also helps him keep his EVP status. We then have Will Ospreay. He says he wants to fight Pac, and then he's coming for Jon Moxley. Pac had kind of challenged him on Collision the previous week. He wants Jon Moxley at Dynasty. He actually kind of thanks him for taking him out because he got to spend some time with his son. And that meant a lot to him, but he's not back for revenge, and he's going to do the same thing to Moxley. We then have the Death Riders of Moxley, Garcia, and Shafir. They defeat Top Flight and Zeta Steel when Mox hits the stomp on Darius, and then Garcia gets the pinfall off of that. After the match, Moxley accepts Ospreay's challenge. Dynasty, but warns him to not let his mouth write checks that his ass can't catch and not get him in trouble. We then have the Young Bucks. They want to be tag team champions. Obviously, they want to go after FTR, but they understand that they need to build themselves back up first. They need to start from the bottom and earn back their shot. We then have Mike Bailey. He defeats Rocky Romero via pinfall following the Ultimate Weapon. We then have MJF come out for a promo. He's the world champion and the man who hung the hangman. And that means Paige can never, ever, 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 ever be the world champion again. That was the easiest win of his career, and he holds the ultimate prize in his business. He's better than you, and he knows it, and you know it. So Kenny Omega hears this, comes out. Omega mocks MJF's appearance and smell before listing off all of his nicknames, including the god of pro wrestling. So if MJF is the devil, Omega might be the god of professional wrestling after all, because he can cancel MJF out. Yeah, MJF beat a weakened version of Omega. I think it was last year, but now Omega is back and better than ever, and definitely better than MJF. The title match is set for Dynasty, and Omega goes to shake on it, but MJF won't shake hands. Omega then gets, he bids the fans adieu, good night, and goodbye, bang. He hits all those catchphrases before he leaves. We then got earlier today, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage talked about the choices that FTR have made to get here. It was going after Beth that went too far, as they have been friends for years, especially Cash and Adam. And now Cope is swearing that he will take them out for attacking his family. FTR then comes out and gets a little bit of a rebuttal. They have Stokely Hathaway with them. The team made a choice to dump Cope and look at the result of that choice of the tag team champions. Cash then talks about how he used to live in Adam's house, our guest house, and ate his food, but now he doesn't need Adam or his stupid kids or wife. Dax then says if he'll drop Beth on her head, just imagine what we'll do to you, Adam. We then go to the War Dogs of David Finlay and Clark Connors. They defeat Roddy Strong and Orange Cassidy when they hit the full clip on Orange to get the win. We then get Megan Bain and Lena Cross. They are ready to defeat the Babes of Wrath again and continue their reign as tag team champions. Kyle Fletcher then says he is proud of his recent title defenses, but he wants to be world champion. Konosuke Takeshita comes in and says they are close as a team, as close as brothers. He says certainly closer than anything involving Kazuchika Okada. So again, Takeshita kind of trying to put the divide between Okada and Fletcher and show that they're better teammates, that Proto-Shida and was first before Proto-Okada. We then get Tekla. She defeats Mina Shirakawa via pinfall following a brass knuckles shot. We then get Kenny Omega once again. He is ready to take the world title off of MJF. Mike Bailey comes in to shake Omega's hand and says he wants the first shot when Omega becomes world champion. And Omega appreciates the handshake and agrees to that happening. We then get Ricochet. He admits that he lost last time they saw him because he had to defend his national title against 20 other men in a battle royal. Now people like Kenny Omega are getting a world title shot, even though Ricochet has beaten him in the past, and he gets no world title shots. Anyway, Ricochet and the Demand will be back, and Ricochet will once again be national champion when he gets his shot. We then get Darby Allin defeating Roosh in the main event via pinfall when Roosh misses the horns, and Darby is able to catch him coming off of that with a roll-up. After the match, the Don Callis family come in and lay Darby out with Mark Davis actually hitting an absolutely sick pile driver on the ramp. And then Andrade kind of comes out a little late and says kind of looks like he isn't so sure about what the Don Callis family is doing. So yeah, really kind of brutal pile driver there to kind of end the show for Darby. It seems like anytime he starts to kind of pursue the world title, he's constantly beaten down by these large groups. But as far as best match, no shock here. It was a pay-per-view quality kind of match that was presented on TV. But Omega and Strickland is definitely the match you should go out of your way to see. was really, really awesome. I thought the tag match between the dogs and the collaboration was a solid contest as well. So I would check that one out too. But like I said, Omega and Strickland probably should have been on a pay-per-view. It is definitely, I would definitely be worthy of that if they did it, obviously, in the later months. We'll then go to Impact. Mustafa Ali defeats BDE via pinfall following a downward spiral. After the match, Order 4 jumps Swan, who was ringside with BDE, but Trey Miguel comes in to make the save. Jada Stone also comes in to take out Tasha Steelz, but Miguel eventually has to save her from Agent Zero. We then get Leon Slater and Mike Santana. They are ready to face the system tonight. They're ready to keep their titles at Sacrifice as well. Daria Ray then comes up to threaten Santana with losing the title if he even thinks about touching Steve Macklin tonight. We then get Jeff Hardy. He defeats Brian Myers via pinfall following a swanton. After the match, the system jumps the Hardys until the Righteous make the save. Bear Bronson is kind of left in the ring by the system. So here is Moose to have their scheduled match that is next. Moose then defeats Bear Bronson via pinfall with a spear after some huge chaos happens. They were in Atlanta, so some former Falcons players, teammates of Moose, who back when he was in the NFL, kind of get in the rest of the system's face. This distracts Bear, and Moose hits the spear to get the win. We then have Mara Sade. She is ready for Sacrifice, but gets a note saying, "Read me." The note says, "Follow the White Rabbit," and then a bloody a guy in a rabbit suit and kind of a kind of a suit over that has blood all over it, and obviously Mara follows her, and then somebody behind her follows her. So we'll see what it all kind of leads to. I think it even said to be continued afterwards. The system is then ready to take out Moose and the Hardys. Eddie Edwards is sad to see Alicia Edwards getting dropped as well, but she made her choice to stick with Moose. And then we see that the Righteous have been watching from behind. We then get Tessa Blanchard, Victoria Crawford, and Mila Moore defeating Mila Grace, Harley Hudson, and Jody Threat. Tessa hits the buzzsaw on Mila. We then get Rosemary. She goes up to see a man in a mask. It ends up being Crazy Steve. She says, "Hello, brother," with Allie popping up behind Rosemary. Rosemary shuts her up, and Steve goes on a rant about how everyone has thrown him aside to rot. Rosemary is here to get something from him. She is ready to pay the price. She kisses Steve on the head. They kind of touch heads a little bit, and it seems like some kind of life force or some kind of, bond that they had together was kind of either, strengthened or broken or something like that, or some kind of hold that Rosemary had over him was released or something like that. So kind of a little bit of mystical stuff going on, but then we also get it to be continued on that. So the whole White Rabbit thing has to do with whatever Rosemary's getting after. We then have Eric Young. He defeats Brad Attitude via pinfall following a pile driver. We then get Matt Hardy. He was apparently attacked. The Righteous seem to think it was the system. The Righteous are ready to get some revenge on the behalf of the Hardys. So we'll see where that kind of leads to later. We then have Buff Bagwell. He comes out. Obviously, he's from Atlanta. He cuts a promo. He thanks God for being with him through the loss of his leg, but he also apologizes for his behavior over the last 20 years. Buff then wants to walk down the aisle one more time and wrestle. But here is Frankie Kazarian to say Bagwell isn't walking anywhere. Hot maybe, but not walk. Kazarian mocks him some more, but here's Elijah to kind of chase Kaz off. And Elijah wants to be there when Buff walks that aisle one last time. We then have Santino. He reveals that Matt Hardy is injured and will be unable to compete tomorrow night at Sacrifice. So Vincent, the Righteous come in, and Vincent offers to team with Jeff Hardy against the system tomorrow night. We then have Danny Luna. She is ready to finally win the Knockouts title. She's been fighting for this opportunity for months. She earned it months ago and is finally getting her shot. And when she gets in the ring, it is going to be doomsday for Lei Ying Lee and Ariana Grace. And then we get our main event where Cedric Alexander and Eddie Edwards of the System defeat Mike Santana and Leon Slater. when Steve Maclin comes in, attacks Slater, distracting Santana long enough for Eddie Edwards to catch him with the Boston Knee Party and get the win. Solid main event tag team match. Sets up. They did a pretty good job setting up the Sacrifice show. But as far as best match for Impact, I would go with Moose versus Bear Bronson. I thought it was a pretty good Haas battle. But from there, we'll go to SmackDown. The opening recap looks at Randy Orton's explanation from what he did last week, or from what he did 2 weeks ago. And then he talks, and then we get shown Matt Cardona getting taken out. Randy kind of ignoring Jelly Roll's wisdom that he kind of trying to put upon him, or impart upon him. Randy Orton that comes out to cut a promo to start things. The fans actually kind of cheer him pretty loudly. Orton talks about how Cody Rhodes wanted him to be the best version of himself he could be, and listen to the voices. He says he shut the voices out a long time ago, but Rhodes gave him his blessing to let them back in. Now he's starting to listen to him again, and he can't be responsible for what happens next. The voices outside of his head are the real problem, and the one voice that he is listening to is, and before he can kind of unveil who the person he's been talking to on the phone is, Matt Cardona comes out. He's kind of bandaged up. He doesn't have like a full-on cast or anything like that on from his arm getting crushed last week. And Cardona eventually kind of runs Orton off, and will end up getting a match between the two later on. We have Trick Williams then come up to Nick Aldis in the back. Aldis gives him a match at WrestleMania. Doesn't quite say who it's against yet. He has to tell someone. So here's Sami Zayn, who hears about the match. Sami Zayn wants to know what he's going to be doing at WrestleMania, but Nick Aldis says unless something changes, there is no spot for him right now. Sami goes to leave, has an idea, comes back, punches Trick in the face, and kind of knocks him to the floor, and promises that he will have a match at WrestleMania. We come back from commercial break. Randy Orton yells at Nick Aldis about wanting a match with Matt Cardona. And then he says, if you thought last week was bad, it doesn't matter. If you give me a match, I'm going to do something bad to Cardona. So Aldis eventually does make the match, despite there's no way Cardona is cleared to compete. We then have the Bella Twins defeating Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss when Lash Legend gets a forearm on Alexa from the outside, and Brie scores a roll-up off of that. The Irresistible Forces then come in and clean house until Bayley and Lyra run in to make the save. So for once, the Forces don't end up standing tall to end the segment on SmackDown. We then have R-Truth. He says he is trying to rebuild the Judgment Day Clubhouse. He even has a tape measure with him. Priest says that's not happening. Jelly Roll comes in. He obviously Truth doesn't recognize him. Rhea Ripley comes in next to him as well. Truth calls Jelly Roll and Rhea Dom and Mommy, says they're back together. Priest has to correct him, but Truth says they're getting a new hot tub for the clubhouse. And Priest kind of does a callback to Carlito and says, that's cool. So I thought that was pretty funny. Rhea then hits him, and Jelly Roll gives her a little bit of a pep talk, saying she needs to shut down Jade at WrestleMania. Jelly Roll then says he needs to go get ready for Kit Wilson, and R-Truth ends up following him. Rhea then tries to make sense of any of this, but Damien kind of cuts her off for the sake of everyone's sanity, for trying to think about it too much. Anyways, Rhea then congratulates Priest on the tag team title win, and Priest obviously gives her some words back about, hey, go do what you need to do. We then have Charlotte and Alexa arguing with the Bellas in the back about their match. They kind of tease that they're not done with each other. They don't fight, but obviously I think they're not done with each other in the grand scheme of things. We'll see what happens on Raw with the other tag team title match, but have a feeling we're headed for a four-way of some sort. We then have Rhea Ripley. She comes out to cut a promo. She's not happy with B-Fab and Michin being so desperate to stoop down to Jade's level. No one is stopping her from getting to WrestleMania, so get out here now and let's do this. Jade Cargill then comes out with B-Fab and Michin. They don't like Rhea getting all of the praise and attention when Meechin and BFAB have put in the work too. Cargill is giving them she says now Cargill is giving them a chance, which has Rhea laughing. Tonight it's going to be BFAB versus Rhea, with Rhea saying it's time for BFAB to learn that actions have consequences. The match doesn't go all that long. It does start. So Rhea does defeat BFAB via DQ, but Meechin and Jade come in pretty quickly and attack Rhea before she can hit Riptide on BFAB. Then have Kit Wilson. He wants the Miz in his corner tonight, but Miz is freaking out as he has stepped in gum. His package has been sent to Romania by mistake, and his phone fell in the toilet. But there is no curse. Miz leaves, and Danhausen comes in to say he has machismo and he can help Kit out, but Kit cuts him off. Wilson says he is handsome, but Danhausen says that Wilson is cursed. So obviously nobody's being nice to Danhausen, so he keeps cursing people. We then look at Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu, which obviously they had a huge brawl last week in the big crash. McIntyre then shows up and says he doesn't want to fight because he's banged up and bruised and doesn't have it in him tonight. But he says if Jacob starts something, McIntyre will finish it. We then have Jelly Roll defeating Kit Wilson via pinfall following a choke slam. After the match, Jelly Roll grabs his son from the crowd and celebrates with him after the match. So, again, I think it's still kind of leading to a Miz. It might end up being Jelly Roll and Danhausen versus Miz and Kit Wilson at this point, because I don't see them using Royce Keys at this point. I think they'll just bring him in after Mania. And then get a long recap of what happened on Raw at the end with Roman, Usos, and CM Punk. Obviously, like I said, Jay kind of seems to be more the tribal chief, or at least like you have the angel and the devil on your shoulder. He seems to be kind of more the devil than anything. So we'll see where that continues to go. We then go from that to the other bloodline, the MFTs. Solo wants the rest of the MFTs to be on the same page. He apologizes for being going a bit too far last week. He says Roman Reigns would never apologize, so Sikoa is better than him in that way. Sikoa kind of says that to Tama, who kind of called him out last week. They then leave. Everybody but Tama leaves. Shinsuke comes in to check on him and Tama insists that he's fine and doesn't want whatever kind of help Shinsuke is trying to give him. We then get the U.S. Open Challenge. Sami Zayn defeats Carmelo Hayes via pinfall when Trick accidentally nails Carmelo with a forearm, allowing Sami to hit the haluva kick, and he is the new United States champion. So Carmelo's reign comes to an end. The string of open challenges between all these face champions kind of ended in a whole circle. Started with Sami, ends up with Sami. So I kind of have a feeling we won't do the open challenge for the rest of the weeks till WrestleMania, just so because we're about to get a match made official. So I don't think they'll want to mess with that. We then have Jacob Fatu. He also limps in, says he isn't here to stay backstage. He wants to talk to the people in the arena. So he's headed out there now. We then have Sami Zayn run into Nick Aldis, ask if now he's going to WrestleMania. He is indeed, and he'll defend the U.S. title against Trick Williams. And Sami Zayn says that works for him. We then have Jacob Fatu. He comes out to cut a promo. He's injured, and all of his problems are due to Drew McIntyre. Last week, McIntyre hit him with a car, threw him off the side of a building, and that wasn't going to keep him down. Fatu is still standing, and that means every week he's going after Drew, who then comes out to interrupt him. Drew then says Fatu committed a crime and did the time, and since he got out, he's stolen from McIntyre over and over and over. Fatu has stolen food from McIntyre's table for his kids. Fatu had talked about how Drew had stolen food off of his kids' table. So Drew says, screw your kids. And then Nick Aldis comes out and makes a WrestleMania match between the two of them, but it is going to be unsanctioned because the company doesn't want to be responsible for what these two do to each other. We then have Jelly Roll. He comes up to Matt Cardona, says he isn't sure what's going on with Randy. Matt wants to beat Randy up, which Jelly Roll understands, and then he kind of walks away. Aleister Black and Zelina then come in to talk about how Randy has changed, but Cardona doesn't seem to get, they kind of talk and, you know, and kind of riddles and, all the kind of weirdness that they come with. They kind of talk like Bray Wyatt used to. It's a lot of words, but it doesn't all make sense, and Cardona doesn't seem to understand what they're trying to say. We then get Tiffany Stratton. She runs into Chelsea Green, who thinks they got off to the wrong foot. Green thinks that they should be a team, but Stratton says Chelsea may be a 2-time women's U.S. champion, but that also means that she lost twice. So Tiffany is good and says toodles. We then have Julia defeating Tiffany Stratton via pinfall when she gets her knees up on a PME attempt after Kiana had provided enough of a distraction for Tiffany to kind of not immediately hit the move. We then have Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. She says they're going to keep their eyes on the tag team titles, which they will win this Monday on Raw. And obviously from there, they'll think about what they're doing at WrestleMania. We then go to Randy Orton. He's on the phone once again and says he'll see whoever is on the other end soon. We get video of the Obafemi Brock Lesnar confrontation on Raw, kind of showing us what had happened between them over the last few weeks. And then we get our main event where Randy Orton defeats Matt Cardona via pinfall, falling in RKO. Cody Rhodes shows up, and then they randomly go to commercial break, which is super weird. But he's in the arena. He's making his way to the ring. Nick Aldis comes in with some security. Security seems to let Rhodes go to the ring for the initial brawl. Security can't break it up to start. They eventually hold them apart, and then they brawl again. Orton is sent outside, beats up some security. This actually allows Cody to get through again and gets some more shots in. They're eventually held apart once again in the ring. Jelly Roll gets inside to try to calm down Cody and Randy, but he eats an RKO, which actually gets a pretty big pop from the crowd. So Pittsburgh, I believe, is where they were. Not a big Jelly Roll. Not a big Jelly Roll fan base, I guess. And then Cody checks on Jelly Roll to kind of end the show. So we'll see. Obviously, Jelly Roll seems to be involved in this as well. So we'll see if he even has a match at Mania or what we're kind of headed towards. But obviously, just another way to get a little dig in at and make Randy seem like more of a dickhead heel. So Sami Zayn versus Carmelo Hayes would be my best match on SmackDown, but another hot ending for SmackDown, I would say. They had the big attack 2 weeks ago. They had the big fight between Fatu and McIntyre last week, and then obviously this week. So a couple of good SmackDowns in a row. This one got panned online. I don't know why. They kind of talked about it being real samey, but I mean, you get a really good match between Sami and Hayes. So, I mean, that makes it just as good, if not better, than most episodes of TV lately. I mean, if you're just out on the product, I get it, but I thought it was a perfectly fine SmackDown. I mean, it might have been somewhat uninspiring, I guess, maybe, but I thought it was perfectly fine for a TV episode. I think people just hate because that's what they enjoy to do. But we'll go from there to Sacrifice, TNA special show from Friday. Like I said, I went down for the day to go to New Orleans. Me, Jennifer Smith, and Jacob Williams attended it together. It was a fantastic show. We really enjoyed ourselves. I don't think any of us really went in with a ton of expectations. I think I'm really the only one that kind of knew anything about what was going on. So I had the most, I would have had the most expectations, but I just kind of wanted to go to a fun show on a Friday with my friends, and I thought it delivered pretty well. But we'll get into the card. Opened with an absolutely awesome X Division match. Leon Slater defeats Eric Young via pinfall following a Styles Clash in Swanton 450. This was probably the best match of the night. I will say it won't win my best match of the night from a fan perspective. I thought another match kind of captured me a little bit more than that one did. But as far as in-ring wise, I think it was probably the best. But from an overall perspective, I don't think it quite hit me emotionally like the other one did. But I'll get to that in a minute. We get shown that the one-man gang is in the crowd. He still looked pretty all right for as old as I think he probably is. So obviously he's much older than he was back in the day, but he was still alive and kicking there. We then had Mike Santana cut a promo. He was kind of getting interviewed. He's ready to defend the world title tonight against Steve Macklin and go face to face. Title represents the sacrifices that he's made over the years, like missing a lot of things with his baby girl. But he finally made it all worth it by becoming world champion. He got Macklin his job back, and his payment, he is going to eat his heart out. So a pretty big threat there. But they get AJ Francis and Frankie Kazarian defeating Hometown Man and Elijah when Kazarian hit the fade to black on the Hometown Man. Another match. It wasn't like an all-time great or anything like that, but it had some good energy. The Hometown Man was pretty good at hyping up the crowd. And obviously, I think a lot of people know Elijah from his time at WWE. So I think he had a pretty good crowd support as well. So this one was probably a little bit helped more by the crowd, but I thought I wasn't expecting anything of it really, and it kind of delivered in a way that I wasn't expecting. We then get the System. They're ready to take out Jeff Hardy and Vincent later tonight. We then have Tommy Dreamer and Carlos Silva. They come out to have a presentation of some sort. Dreamer talks about his history in this town and everything that it means for him to be here. He wants to bring out someone who is an inspiration to this company, so he brings out Chris Bay. He gets a pretty good ovation. Obviously, he's still out recovering from his severe neck injury that he had a few years ago. But Bay talks about his success that he has had in the future of TNA. He says with that, he wants to bring out the newest signee, Ricky Sosa. He actually debuted a few weeks ago, but this is like his official contract signing. Sosa comes out. He had a huge pop too. I probably should know more about him than I do, but I really don't. But the crowd there that night seemed to really be into this guy. He has kind of an entrance music that you can sing along with. So everybody was popping and singing along with that. So I thought that was pretty awesome. But he's happy to be here, and this is the moment he's been working for 5 years now. And his thing is bang, bang, Sosa, Sosa. So he hits that catchphrase, and then he signs. We then look back at Tessa Blanchard cheating to win on the kickoff show. After the match, we see that Mila Moore was walking around backstage, and she follows the White Rabbit when Havoc, of all people, pops up behind her. And we kind of just hear a scream, and it says, "This is to be continued." We then get our Knockouts Championship match. Ariana Grace and Lei Ying Lee, or Ariana Grace defeats Lei Ying Lee and Danny Luna when Lee actually hits the Warriors away on Luna, but is pulled out of the ring by Stax. And obviously, Ariana Grace steals the pin and the win and retains our championship. Again, another match that I wasn't expecting much out of. I think the best parts of this match were when Ariana wasn't in there. No shot, but Lei Ying Lee and Danny Luna really did beat the crap out of each other. So I thought that was a really good match between them two. And Ariana wasn't terrible or anything like that, but it obviously was a lot better than when the other two were involved. And they laid in some pretty good strikes on each other. So I thought it was a solid match as well. We then go to Allie. She gets Mara Sade to follow the White Rabbit until she meets Rosemary. Sade wants, she kind of knows what Rosemary is capable of. So she wants Rosemary to make Michael B. Jordan appear. But Rosemary says, let the man have his privacy and leave him alone. Rosemary isn't about to stab her. Mara asks, Rosemary's not about to stab her or send her to Wrestle House, is she? And then Rosemary says, Artie Evans is rolling over in his grave at the mention of you just shitting on Wrestle House. She says they'll have a talk after Sade's match. And again, we get a to be continued. This next match is the one I was talking about. Mustafa Ali and Tasha Steelz defeat Jada Stone and Trey Miguel when Ali hits the Dances with the Devil on Stone and then follows it with a 450 as well. Ali looked like an absolute star just in his appearance. And throughout the entire match, he was the most dickhead heel you could ever imagine. So I hope this is the beginning of a main event push for him. Obviously, he's been one of my favorites for years. But I really hope this is the beginning of something bigger for him. Maybe he can be the one that eventually takes the title off of Santana. But he looked like an absolute star here. Like I said, Jake Williams went with me to the show, and he even thought that when he was coming out, he was like, "Man, this guy looks different than everybody else that we've seen so far, and that he's, he just looks like somebody that should be, it looks like somebody that should be on a main event level." And even I looked at Jake and said, "Yeah, he either needs to be with one of the other two companies, or he needs to be the world champion in this company, because his performance here." And Jada, I wasn't really expecting anything out of her, but this ended up being like an intergender tag, and her and Mustafa Ali went at it a lot. And I give a lot of credit to Ali, but Jada definitely brought her in of it as well. So this was a really awesome mixed tag, and I came away thinking that everybody in it was a bigger star than I did maybe going in. We then go to Ariana Grace and Stax. They laugh at Laying Lee for losing again. Xia Brookside defends her. They argue about their fathers, so Santino comes in to make a title match for Impact, and Stax calls Santino a terrible father. We then have Moose and Eddie Edwards. It doesn't really end up being much of a match. It goes about 30 seconds, but Agent Zero comes out of Order 4 and comes in and beats down Moose. There was a segment on the pre-show where Order 4 and the system kind of agreed to something. It didn't really say per se what they were agreeing to, but it was just kind of a conversation that obviously Eddie being the leader of the system and Ali being this leader of Order 4, they kind of shook hands, and they both walked away and said they didn't really trust each other. But obviously Agent Zero coming out here and attacking Moose was part of that deal. We then get a no disqualification match. Mara Sade defeated Elena Black when she hits a slam on some tacks, and then Mara goes up top, hits a moonsault, and gets the win. We then have the system defeat Jeff Hardy and Vincent when Jeff Hardy gets distracted by the video of Matt being shown bloodied up on the screen above the entrance. We are shown that Dutch is standing over him, standing over Matt, who's tied up and bloodied. Cedric then grabs Jeff from behind, hits the lumbar check, and the system gets the win. So Vincent kind of teases that he's going to beat down Jeff Hardy as well, but doesn't end up doing so. So obviously this is the Righteous revealing that they were the ones that attacked Matt in the first place. We then get a random segment before the main event. The Elegance brand, without Ash, of course. She's still recovering from being called a mark by Mickie James. They threaten ODB to not show up again, as that she needs to stay in her old dirty food truck. ODB then comes out, who thinks a little 2-on-1 sounds fun tonight, but she's a married woman now and doesn't think she can handle that. She has a lot of friends, though, wherever she goes, like New Orleans' own Taryn Terrell, who comes out and doesn't like all the garbage that these bitches have been saying. So let's have them say it to their face. Mr. Elegance then threatens to beat up ODB. So ODB brings out Mickie James as well. Mickie James obviously even things up. Mr. Elegance tries to cut her off, but Mickie James ends up calling him Pickle Dick, which apparently isn't kosher. The crowd pretty quickly started chanting that at him as well. The brawl then ensues, and Mr. Elegance gets beaten up and gets beaten down pretty well. So the legends kind of stand tall. This was kind of an added-on segment. I don't think it was totally necessary. I think they made the best of it. The personal concierge is somebody that I've been a fan of ever since I've started doing this show. He's really good at the overacting thing when like somebody says something insulting towards one of his people or something like that. So I think he played this segment off really, really well. So, but was it totally necessary? No. Was it the worst thing ever? No, at the same time. So we then go to Santino Marella and Daria Ray. They argue over the main event. Santino seems to be favoring Santana, and Daria says people in power like us shouldn't be picking sides. We then go to the main event. Again, it doesn't last very long. Mike Santana actually defeats Steve Macklin, but it's via rest stoppage. Santana hits a super kick like maybe a minute in. It lands a little too flush, and Macklin is not absolutely loopy. He gets kicked, and he immediately falls like real limp to the mat. He actually had a hand on the rope, so I think that actually saved him a bit from being even more hurt. The refs and doctors kind of check on Macklin for a little bit before kind of leading him out. While they're checking on him, though, Eddie Edwards comes out and attacks Santana from behind. Santana fights back, loads up a table, and eventually drops Eddie Edwards with a spin the block. He then sets Edwards on the table and splashes him from the ring to the floor. So kind of a dud way to end the show, but he really did get knocked loopy. I've seen videos of it since. It didn't seem live like it hit all that flush, but if you look back at it, it hit him pretty good. And he absolutely collapses as soon as it happens. Like I said, not the best way you want to end the show, but I would say the beginning of the show really overperformed more than I thought. Like I said, Mustafa Ali was a star in that match. I would go with that intergender tag as my match of the night. Like I said, Slater and Eric was probably better in-ring wise, but the story and just the performance by Ali was so awesome that I wanted to give it its flowers. And then we'll go to Collision to end up to wrap up the week. We started with Collision. We're going to end with Collision. We open with the Divine Dominion defeating the Babes of Wrath when they hit the double choke slam on Harley Cameron. So I think that pretty much ends that feud from going any further forward. We then get the Brawling Birds. They want to fight tonight, but Mina Shirakawa comes in to say she wants to fight Tekla again. She didn't feel that she got a fair fight last time because obviously Tekla used the brass knuckles. They then say any three women who want to fight can come get one with the three of them. We then have Rascals member Myron Reed defeat Johnny TV via pinfall with a springboard 450. We then have Daniel Garcia with the rest of the Death Riders, talks about how he's changed a lot. And then Moxley asks what Private Party could buy with $200,000. Says tonight things better get serious for them or they're going to get put down fairly easily by the Death Riders. We then have Private Party kind of have a rebuttal. They say tonight isn't about partying and that it is their time and they will win that $200,000. The Death Riders then beat Private Party, Mox and Garcia, when Garcia gets Cassidy to tap to the Dragon Tamer. We then have Ricochet. He was on, there was a Maple Leaf Pro show on the previous night, and Ricochet was kind of backstage after it, and he ranted about how he wants, he and the rest of the Demand are ready to face Kenny Omega, Jack Perry, and Brody King on Dynamite, so a big six-man tag for the Demand coming up. We then have Mina Shirakawa and the Brawling Birds. They defeat Nixie HS, Amina Belmont, and Haven Harris when Mina gets HS to tap to the figure four. After the match, Jamie Hayter says they like teaming with Mina, but promise her that they had nothing to do with attacking Toni Storm. They don't like the Triangle of Madness, who pop up in the crowd and swear on Storm's cold dead body that if anyone tries this with them, it will be the same result. Shirakawa then sends out a challenge, a six-person challenge for a match for next week. We then have Fletcher. He brags about the success of the Don Callis family, but they don't like the Rascals. Tonight, it's about revenge. Kazuchika Okada and Fletcher seem to be on the same page. And Fletcher wants the world title again that he mentions. Okada tries to kind of play Fletcher against Takeshita again as well, talking about how Proto Okada is better and all that kind of stuff. We then have an absolutely awesome match between Tommaso Ciampa and Ace Austin. Tommaso wins via pinfall with the running pump knee. After the match, Juice Robinson comes in to check on Ace, who's his buddy, and Ciampa leaves without doing anything. He leaves in peace, kind of doesn't attack Juice or anything like that. We then have the Rascals. They want to win tonight and get back into the tag team title picture. We then go to the Babes of Wrath. They seem to agree to split up. They obviously say that they're still friends. They're still babes, but they need to go do their own thing, as obviously Willow's still the TBS champion. So the Babes of Wrath seem to be no more. We then have Aussie Open of Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher. They defeat the Rascals when Mark Davis hits the pile driver on Desmond. We then go to that Global War show that I was talking about earlier. Ricochet and Don Callis are ready to get together to take out Kenny Omega on Dynamite. And they also say something about wanting to play golf in the future. We then have Kevin Knight. He is ready to keep his momentum going and win the international title tonight. John Moxley has no sympathy for Private Party being banged up, and he doesn't feel any sympathy for Will Ospreay, especially when he walked into an unsanctioned cage match last year with a broken neck and he didn't think something like what happened to him was going to happen. And then we get our main event where Kazuchika Okada defeats Kevin Knight via pinfall following an exchanging of pinfall attempts, and Okada eventually gets a pinfall attempt and grabs the ropes to cheat and get the win and retain his international championship. A solid night of wrestling throughout. I thought a lot of matches could have won match of the night on this one, but like I said, that Tommaso Ciampa Ace Austin match was absolutely awesome. One of the better TV matches you'll see, so that'll get best match for me on that Collision. So, but I would check out the whole episode of Collision. I thought it was really strong throughout, so definitely go out of your way to check that one out. I'm obviously very much losing my voice, so I appreciate anybody dealing with that and making their way through it with me. I haven't felt my best, but I wanted to get it out as per usual, and I hope that everyone enjoys it. And we will see you next week, and hopefully I sound a little bit better.